my experience, it's like they want to take the parts that they think are impactful without really like thinking of the story as a whole. So it's like you'll get the same scene, even something from like the book or whatever, and not only with mine, but with other adaptations that I've read the books and watched the films, and they take this one thing and then they it's like, for me, I don't understand how everybody can pull different things from the same exact text, where my version of it is so far from some people's version of it that I'm like,
Yeah.
but that's not. And for me, especially with After, because I literally created it, it's like what I went to write about wasn't necessarily what is conveyed by other people. Like if they don't get it, they just don't get it. And that's the, beauty and pain of collaboration. But my things that I love the most about the story that I wrote is the trauma and how they're so different. And
well, yeah, and that's why vision's so important, because you can have the same text and it can be adapted in such different ways. And it's yeah, and then also, I mean, I think there was just like, what I mean by possessiveness about character is when you feel like you know that person and you're like, you don't want them to be a two-dimensional cutout. And you'll and like you have empathy. It's so easy, I think, for the annoying girl or this girl to be like played a certain way, or for like the bad guy to be played a certain way. And I think it's, when you have empathy, it's always a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. I know, going back to even the first press tour, when someone, I can't remember what country or city or anything we were in, so I'm apologizing to the internet beforehand for not remembering, but someone asked you what, like, something about Tessa being a good girl, and I love that you literally were just like, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean she's a good girl?
I hate the words. I hate, I'm very into semantics, and I hate innocent and I hate naive, because I'm like, what do you, but but that just speaks to like psychology and finding it, like what does it mean to be annoying? Is annoying an objective thing, or is it subjective? What does it mean to be innocent? If she's had this upbringing where she's had a father who like abandoned her, and she's had and she's innocent because she's sexually inexperienced, well, is it, I think it's more complicated. It's about having like an optimistic worldview, and I don't know. I just,
words. I think your answer for that is always great, honestly. And I think it's, thanks. I love anytime. Well, just in general, I love when females particularly question a journalist, if the question's like, just like these compilations of, I watched another one last night of like a compilation of like Scarlett Johansson just being like, why are you asking me about my diet? When Jeremy Renner is getting these like brilliant questions. So I love just kind of, I don't know, I remember that mom movie being like, what does it mean to be a good girl? Is she, because that is something when people, for me, it's like, oh, you wrote the young version of 50 Shades, or you wrote the good girl, bad boy. And it's like, it is true. And I don't even know if I thought about it in the same way before you said that, of like, wait a second, what makes her so good? People can be, I mean, she reads and she's a virgin. It's like, that doesn't make her good. Like, she's complicated. Like, I don't, we could talk about that for a long time. But anyways, do you have a sort of ritual for filming beforehand?
No. I try to brush my teeth, and I try to get everything done in 10 minutes before I head to set. And I can't do it in 10 minutes, but I just try, because it's like, I'd rather have that extra 15 minutes of sleep.
Yes.
Do you have a ritual when you, I don't think I've ever asked you that, like that.
No, I mean, no, it just, every day, we were there, so we know, but every day is so different, and every day there's like a new thing to focus on or worry about or fix or whatever the case is. So I don't think I'm not experienced enough as a producer to have a ritual, I don't think, because it's been so like fast and stuff that I would love to sleep more in the future, because being on the last two films, I haven't really slept at all. So Yeah, I would
Yeah.
love to make that part of my ritual is like trying to get extra sleep.
Yeah. Routine's so important. I need a routine. I just get bored by routine.
I
Like,
know.
yeah.
I know. I do the same like with Asher. He needs a routine every day. And then
Yeah.
for me, I'm the like, well, probably everybody, even the internet, I would say, you know this, but the internet probably knows I'm not a like structured person. I'm just never going to be that. I'm just all
Yeah.
over the place mentally. Like I'm not, if someone gives me a list of something, I will like go out of my way to not like
Yeah.
read the list correct. Like I'm just not a list graph person at all.
Well,
Um,
I mean, that's very much also how you write. It's not, I think it's why your writing has such a natural flow because it's sort of just, it's not like you were talking about where you go, okay, so on page 36, I must have this thing happen. It's very much like, oh,
like reading a book. Like it's basically the same thing. Um, let's see. Who do you think? Because I don't want
ooh.
us to not talk about the movie at all.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
let me
yeah.
think. Who do you think Tessa would want to meet for coffee, dead or alive?
Jane Austen, because books.
Yes. Who would you want to meet for coffee, dead or alive?
Uh, I think, I mean, Shakespeare's a good, I think, just like placeholder answer because I think it's pretty cool to be a guy who wrote stuff where like you still know his name 500 years later. But I don't know. Can I? What about myself? Could I
Yeah.
meet my future self? I wouldn't want to do that.
What about past self?
No, I
I
would leave them
right.
alone.
Right. Right. Yeah. Same.
um, yeah.
Same.
What do you think?
Tessa for sure would be Jane Austen. For me, I don't know. I mean, I have also had a history of like really looking forward to meeting people, and then when I do, it's like the worst
Yeah,
nightmare, and I wish I never did. So
yeah.
I don't think I even want. I used to have like a 5 people I wanted to meet, and I've met
Mhm.
4, and the last one I don't think I'll ever meet, and I never really have to want to.
Well,
But
this is why I struggle with the another question you always ask in interviews is, do you have any role models? Who's your role models? And I don't because I think if you don't know what someone's like in real life and you admire them and you go, man, I want to be just like them, then you're sort of saying that you don't care about their personal behavior. And there's so many people whose work is really amazing but in person they're not good people. And so that's why I'm not saying you shouldn't that's a ridiculous thing to say. Of course you can admire someone's
no,
work and I think you can separate work and personal life, but it's why I struggle to have role models because then what if you haven't met them, you know?
yeah, I think that was a big thing for me coming into the author world of having like it's a little hard to some people I literally can't ever read their books again because I know them and I'm just like, oh, this is not what I how I imagine. So I very much miss those days of like being able to walk in a bookstore and not knowing the people. For film, it's already kind of the same situation, and I'm barely in it. This
Well,
is
it's
my third year.
blissful. It's blissful ignorance, and cancel culture is sort of eliminating that. And I think it's good. I think it's. I think there's something positive when work no longer excuses personal behavior to a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because it's also like, well, at the end of the day, if there's a certain job or that's escapism based and entertainment based, then does it really? Is it better to be ignorant, and is it better to sort of just, I don't know.
I know it's like with Hemingway is kind of a good example. Is like when I was a teenager, I literally, if someone said, "Who do you like want to marry?" I would be like, "Hemingway's my like soulmate."
Mm,
Now I'm like, Hemingway is like, you know, I mean, granted he's deceased, so like, no offense if his
mm,
descendants are watching this, but it's like, as much as I love his books, he was a very complicated man. He was, you know, openly abusive to women and
mm.
all this stuff. So now it's like when I'm quoting Hemingway, it doesn't really feel the same.
It's difficult, and then you're like, well, if you want to enjoy, do you have to separate the work from the personal life, or can you not separate it?
I think it's like case by